Learn how to build a better sign and print shop from a few crusty sign guys who've made more mistakes than they care to admit. Conversations and advice on pricing, sales, marketing, workflow, growth, and more. You're listening to the Better Sign Shop Podcast with your hosts, Peter Kourounis, Mike O'Reilly, and Bryant Gillespie.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Sign Shop Podcast. I'm your host, Bryant Gillespie, as always, joined by Sign Shop Yoda himself, Peter Kourounis.
What's going on, Brian? How you doing, my man?
Dude, this has been forever since we have laid down any tracks in our respective studio here. How are you?
I've been busy. We'll start out with my twin girls are here. And enjoying every day of that, being a girl dad. I know that you are a girl dad, and you have given me a lot of pointers along the way, but it's been one hell of a ride. You know, just kind of doing and experiencing everything that you would normally do with a newborn twice at the same time. So for those of you that have twins that are out there, you know what I'm talking about, because it's double the feedings, double the baths, double the diapers, double the crying, double the whining, double the everything. And I already had two kids under 4 years old, so my house is a little bit it's fun, it's exciting, chaotic, and I often say surviving is the way that I feel on any given day, but in a good way, of course. My wife does a really great job, and shout out to her, because I couldn't do what I do without her support and her being a great mom. As far professionally, you know, I've been very involved in the sign business, in the sign field, in the sign shop owners field. I've currently taken on a lot more clients across the country. I'm now on the West Coast with a couple of clients, in Canada with a client here on the East Coast, and obviously Canada, yeah, and learning a lot more from their perspectives as to what their struggles are, and we're going to get into some of that here today, I think.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the twins.
Thanks, man.
I see you still have hair, so you're doing well there.
Yeah, I'm losing some right here. I'm losing it. Like, I've had to change hairstyles lately. That's another thing that I've done this past few months is I went back to my 20s haircut, like the haircut that I had in my 20s. It just didn't look good on a man that's about to be in his 40s body style. I looked a lot thinner and leaner in my 20s for sure, where that haircut was kind of amazing. You know, the high and tight, if you will. Tried to hide away the fading hairline there, but went back to my 40s hairstyle here about a couple of weeks ago.
Well, you saw my experiments with hair.
I did. What's up with the braids, man? I think you're enjoying the girl dad life too much.
Yeah, so I call it a crime of opportunity. We did Disney, it was last month, and we went with another couple that we're friends with. They've like, our daughters are best friends, so we've got 5 girls, 2 couples at a resort down at Disney. We actually went to it's the Hilton Signia down there. It's not Disney property, but they have a shuttle. If you're going to Disney, that's where I'd recommend, because you could cash in all the Hilton points if you've got them. But aside from that, we're walking down to the pool, and there's a braid station there. And my buddy Mike, not the San Burrito Mike from the podcast, but my buddy Mike is like, "Hey, why don't you get your hair braided?" And I was like, "That is a fabulous idea." Yeah, so I'm like king of making my wife aggravated, making her sweat a bit. I sat there and got my hair braided. Little did I know that she was planning on using the pictures from the next day at Magic Kingdom on our Christmas card. So I was in hot water there for a bit.
You have absolute balls of steel. I just couldn't do that. I couldn't do that, wondering what my wife would think, wondering what my friends would think. I mean, if a friend suggested I should get my hair braided, I'd question our friendship.
I think it's like when you're with your friends, like you're instantly transported back to like 13 or 17, where you're just like, especially on vacation, right? You're like, oh, hey, eat that. Or, yeah. Like, so it was one of those trips. But, my wife ended up liking it. Um, you know, Worked out well. Actually got a lot of compliments from folks, if you could believe it.
Okay, I can't believe it, but I trust you. I take your word for it. But that's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, man. Uh, Other than that, same, man. Busy. As you've now experienced, like girl dad life is a bit different. Lots of emotions, lots of crying, lots of hair and makeup and all that stuff. You've got that to look forward to. I can't
Thank
wait to
you.
catch you on the podcast in a full makeover.
Well, yeah, blush and eyeshadow and lipstick. Yeah, that will be the day. Mark this episode down that will not happen. And if you ever see that happening, that's when I've completely given up.
It's there. When you give up, that's when you get the minivan.
Ooh, we're on our way to the minivan right now, I think.
It's the most practical choice. Let's dive into some practical rules that we're going to talk about for this episode and maybe another episode as well. Once you
Yeah,
set us up here, Pete.
yeah,
This is something
sure.
out of your consulting practice. Yeah.
Absolutely. So here we are. We're at the time of filming this episode here. It's quarter 4 of year 2024, and a lot of sign shop owners out there are looking at their numbers, and maybe they're thrilled, maybe they're happy, maybe they're not happy, maybe they start questioning, what's that push towards reaching our financial goal that we set forth at the beginning of the year. A lot of emotions can be running wild through your head right now. Especially in quarter 4 when you start looking at, okay, where did the year go, and what do my numbers look like, and where did I go wrong throughout the year, or where did we go right throughout the year? So one of the things that has become abundantly clear with my sign shop owner clients, who I consult with on a weekly basis, is that there's no true north star to the numbers that they should be looking at. And I completely and 100% have disagreed with that sentiment. Some people would say, yeah, I think, like 30 or 40% of, labor costs is okay. It's just what we've always been doing. And I'd look at that and cringe. And we need to kind of take a deeper look into what those, KPIs, what are those mastering of the financial foundations of your sign shop? What do you need to do to become better going into the latter part of the year and obviously into the early part of the next year? Because, like anybody knows, the end of the year is a strong push towards the finish line. But the beginning of the next year, January and February, are notoriously slow for the industry. It's a slow part of the industry, and the shops that are busy are typically the shops that are busy at that time, that are handling a lot of the overflow projects that were not completed in the latter part of quarter 4. So, in what I thought would be important as a way to kind of come back into this with a bang, come back into this podcast with a bang, is to do a 2-part episode here. We're not going to be able to get through all of these inside of one episode, but we'll certainly stick. You will definitely want to stick around to the part 2 of this podcast episode here that will be dropping here next week. So, or in the upcoming weeks, I should say.
Bum, ba, da,
But
ba. Down from the mountain comes Peter with the 10 sign shop commandments.
yes, that's right. That's what I call them. I call them the 10 sign shop commandments. Now, in order for you to master the financial foundation of your sign shop, these 10 commandments are what's going to be your North Star.
Now, are we going to get like a like a full accounting degree here? Like, what are we talking about? You're talking about financials. I know that's usually like like a squishy subject for a lot of owners that I've talked to. Like, it's important to know the numbers, but as you mentioned, a lot of them may not know what numbers they're trying to hit or what
Yeah,
numbers they should be hitting.
exactly. And I guess for starters, I'm speaking to the sign shop owners that are diligent with reporting on their numbers, not ones that are talking to their accountant once a year and saying, how did my business do at the end of the year? Or, let get me all my bank statements and let's start reporting on all my financials, towards the end of the year or, come tax season. I'm talking about that sign shop owner that pays attention to their profit and loss, pays attention to their balance sheet monthly, if not by month, twice a month. That's the type of sign shop owner that I choose to work with in my practice. That's the type of sign shop owner that I feel like I can help the most. Because when you're not in that world, of knowing your numbers, knowing the pulse of your finances, knowing the pulse of your business, I mean, what are we really getting up every morning and doing? You're a type that I would say that you're the type of owner that's involved too much in your business if you're not looking at your numbers. You're the one that's going out meeting the clients, and you're the one that's project managing. You're the one that's coordinating installs and speaking to your vendors, and possibly maybe even the one in the truck installing signs or making the signs or designing the signs. And that's not my client. My client's the one that knows that, I can't be the owner and working in the business. I need to be on the business. And working on the business means you need to know the numbers. You need to know your finances. You need to know your percentage points. And you need to strive to hit those targets. So let's shoot right out of the bang here, right out of the cannon. Let's get right to it here. We'll shoot right out of the cannon, and we'll talk about gross profit margins. Okay, now for those of you that don't know what your gross profit margins are, that's your gross sales minus your cost of goods sold. Okay, so your gross profit margin. Now, I'm not necessarily going to give you the first commandment here in terms of dollars, but I am going to give it to you in a percentage because I'm a percentage kind of guy, Brian. I would invest heavily in a business that was, if you're doing $5 million and you're not hitting your markers and you're netting 5%, I'd rather invest in the company that's doing $500,000 and netting 20% or 10%. So
makes a ton of sense. I mean, we talk to a lot of guys that just want to grow and grow and grow, but if you're not hitting the numbers, what's the difference? Like, hey, if I eke out just a penny in profit and doing 10 million in revenue.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people get caught up in like the accolades of what your gross sales are. Oh, I'm a $10 million shop. I'm a $9 million shop, and just because you're doing 9 million.
And that's why all these are in percentages.
That's why most of these are in percentages, yes, because it's for everyone. So let's start with the first one. Your gross profit margin should equal or exceed 60% of your sales. So that means if you did $100, you need to profit $60 after the material cost. That's kind of where that is. If I can break it down to a simple number, if you sell something for 100, you want your profit before your office expenses and your overhead expenses to be $60 of that 100. So you want about at least anywhere from $0 to $40 being your material cost on that project. Okay, so that's what I meant by when I say gross profit margin should equal or exceed 60% of your net sales. Any comments on that?
I like that number. Where did you pull this from?
Where did I pull this from? Great question. Where did these 10 sign shop commandments come from, Bryant? I mean, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you that. They come from years and years of profit and loss management, multiple different profitable sign shops. It didn't come from Moses, if that's what you're asking.
That's where most of the pricing comes from for the majority of owners. Right? Oh, hey, what's the price? That feels fair. No.
Yeah, it didn't come from thin air either. It didn't come from thin air. We're talking about looking at dozens, if not hundreds, of profit and losses in my career for sign shop owners across the country, and coaching and learning from some of the best franchise systems in the country on what they're looking for in terms of their units and their unit economics. 60% is a really great, healthy number, but it could equal or exceed that. So it can be better, but you don't want it to go below 60%. That's the key there. So when you take a look at your first primary KPI, it's what did you do in sales? What did we do in cost of goods? And what is that percentage there? And that is sign shop commandment number 1.
Number 1.
So when you mosey on down the profit and loss here, what's after cost of goods? Typically in most profit and loss architecture format, you're kind of looking at next would be labor, right? So now you have material, and now you mosey on down past material, and we're looking at, okay, how much did it cost in labor to produce? So this is a very simple one, because we're talking about physical wages here. We're talking about the designer, the sign maker, the installer. We're not talking about, in this particular KPI, we're not talking about any type of support labor. We're talking about direct labor. So KPI number 2, commandment number 2. We should have like some sort of like angel noise when, like,
Yeah, there you go. I dig it.
Commandment number 2, direct labor should not exceed 20% of your net sales. Okay, so let's go back. What is direct labor? What is direct labor? We're talking about people in your business that are directly connected to the sale, to the product. Okay, we're not talking about CSRs. We're not talking about project managers. We're talking about people that are directly connected to the sale. Some people would put salespeople in this category, and I feel like there's about a 50-50 split of people that would put salespeople, like territory sales, outside sales. Personally, I'm on the fence on this, but I would lean on not including that in this percentage point. I'm talking about your designers. I'm talking about your production guys, your installers, your electrical guys, your welders, your painters.
Yeah, the resources that you are using to build the actual product that you sell.
Correct. Now we'll get into the rest of those people in a minute here later on in part 2. But in part 1 here, commandment number 2, direct labor should not exceed 20% of your net sales.
So if we go back up to that $100, right? We've got $40 or $40 in cost of goods. Labor should not exceed $20 of that $100.
Right. Now remember, do not exceed, because you can be 10% cost of goods, 20% cost of goods, but you shouldn't be more than 40%. Okay, so that's what it's saying there. And you shouldn't be exceeding 20%. So your direct labor cost could be less than 20% too. If you take a look at your P&Ls, everyone, and see if that's what you got going on. But it shouldn't be more than 20% of your net sales. Now, sign shop commandment number 3. We're kind of moseying through this here. Let's go back to commandment number 1. We talked about gross profit margin should equal or exceed 60% of net sales. And we kind of referenced materials minus what that is. That formula there is sales minus materials. But what should materials really be? So materials and parts. Okay, some people, if they're using Shopbox, they call it parts. Materials in general can be anything in your shop that is used in your business, from transfer tape to banner tape to grommets to substrates, inks, electrical accessories, should not exceed 17% of your net sales. Okay, so we're saying now that when you populate all of those expenses, you go to your supply house, you're going to Grimco, you're going to your local supply house, you're ordering materials every day, every week, whatever that looks like, vinyls, inks.
Yep.
Make sure that you're classifying those purchases correctly, right? Because you can skew this number pretty easily. I'll give you an example of one of my clients that has skewed this pretty easily. They would do a weekly order with their supplier. I believe they use Grimco. And they would order everything under the sun because of where they're located. Grimco only does like a once a week delivery.
Truck. Yep.
Yep.
Been there.
So when they set out an order, they're ordering substrates, they're ordering supplies like X-Acto knives, blades, cleaning fluid, application fluid, adhesive remover, you name it, right?
Yep.
They're ordering everything. But what's interesting here is that they're also ordering things that like perhaps inventory in bulk, okay? Which is not a profit and loss item. That should be a balance sheet item. We'll talk about that in a later time. But the proper accounting here, if you are purchasing materials in bulk, it's not a purchase that goes on your P&L. It's a purchase that actually goes on your balance sheet because it's not yet tied to a job. So it's an asset for your business, not necessarily an expense. Another example of this would be mixing materials with other items. Like if you're going to Home Depot and you're buying things like screws and hardware for a project, but you're also buying garbage bags and, you know, cleaning supplies for your office or toilet paper, paper towels, whatever it is, right?
We all
And you're
been there.
doing that on a consistent basis, well, those items are not really cost of materials. Those are office supplies, and that's an overhead expense and not a cost of materials expense. So some of this might sound simple, but you can easily screw up if you just look at the total number on an invoice that you paid at a Costco, a Lowe's, a Home Depot, wherever you're buying your materials from, and saying, "Oh
And
yeah,
you,
I
yeah,
took $500 and I spent $500 here." Well, maybe only $300 of those items were cost of goods. So you have to actually look at the line item on the receipt, classify it correctly. And the shops that actually are doing this well are understanding the accounting part, and they're breaking apart their orders into, these are my material orders, these are my office supply orders, these are my cleaning supply orders. And they're checking out with one vendor, but they're processing the order separately. They're breaking it down into 3 separate invoices for easy reporting.
yeah.
Which, you know, is just a couple of extra steps, because when you're in that type of sign shop that is always on the rush, always on the move, I got to meet these deadlines, and, you know, it's always you're always moving at a speed of 100. It can be easily forgotten, these particular steps,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
it's all about prep work as well, right? Like, you got to have the foundation. You got to have all this stuff set up to codify it correctly to make sure that like you can actually get to the point where these numbers are actionable for you, right? So, uh,
Yeah, so
I've seen a lot of QuickBooks over the years for shop owners, and I can tell you that like no like chart of accounts is the same across the board, but that is a very
no.
important step. It's you know, you need to take the time to really sit down, go through it with your accountant or somebody who's knowledgeable about that, and figure out where you're going to code these things at and what those accounts are going to be.
Yeah, for sure. You know, as many of our audience members know, I come from the franchise world, right? So when you're in the franchise supplies you with, this is the franchise chart of accounts. There is no deviating from it. We've thought of everything, and everything's got a little chart of account number that can
Yeah.
assign the littlest things to it. But when you're mixing, when you don't have that value, when you don't have that value of becoming a franchise, and you don't want to be going down that path, and you have to do your own bookkeeping, one of the best things for you to do is really to have a constant communication with your bookkeeper about similar like expenses. So if you're making material expenses on the regular, inform your bookkeeper like, no, this is a cost of goods. Anytime you see this vendor charged on my debit card, charged on my Amex, anytime you see a check written out to this vendor, you know, that is a typically going to be 98% of the time a cost of goods expense. However, when you do run into that situation where, okay, we just spent $500, but $100 of that is in office supplies and toilet paper for the bathrooms and, you know, soap and hand towels and scented candles, you know, just for the typical shop office, you have to notify that bookkeeper of yours and say, hey, look, I just made this $500 expense on November 15th, and $100 of that is going into office supplies. I just wanted to let you know. Here's the receipt, and that's how you should be communicating with your monthly bookkeeper. And if you don't have a monthly bookkeeper, I personally strongly advise you to get one.
Yes.
Because if you should not be an owner without one. You should not be owning a sign shop without a monthly bookkeeper. They're not expensive. $200, $300. You could do this remote. You could do this with a, someone in the Philippines or even someone in your local market if you even want. But they're not expensive. But it is important for you to have accurate numbers. All right. So just to recap,
100%.
gross profit margin should equal or exceed 60% of net sales. That's number one. Number two, direct labor should not exceed 20% of net sales. Cool, got that. Number three, materials and or parts should not exceed 17% of your net sales. Okay, we often get in this industry, I know I did, for the explosive profit margins. And the materials and parts reason is one of those reasons why it's so amazing. How much money you can make off of a $10 sheet of coroplast. You tell me. You know what I mean? Like it's a
yeah. Like, the
you
margins
got some
have always been good.
You got some really great explosive profit margins here in the sign shop world. Okay. Number 4, sign shop commandment number 4. Okay, so we're moseying on down that profit and loss now. We got sales, we got cost of goods, we got materials, we got labor. Now we're going to talk about overhead.
With the mosey thing. It's like, hey, I'm thinking commandments. I'm thinking Moses.
Oh no, moseying on down. It's kind of like just like perusing, like giving a walk down, jog down the piano here.
Yeah, I got it.
No.
I got it. All right. Sign shop commandment number 4.
Number 4, operating expenses. Now, every shop here is very different, Bryant. You know that. There's big shops, there's small shops, there's 2-man shops, there's 20-man shops. Okay? Every sign shop, no matter what, is going to have different expenses. And this, my friend, you and I know this very well. This is the reason why pricing is off the charts different from one shop to another. Okay? When we talk about pricing and products and being priced out of the market, this, my friends, is why pricing is different from shop to shop. Operating expenses. So sign shop commandment number 4, your operating expenses should not exceed 48% of net sales. Okay, should not exceed. If you're hovering 48%, maybe you're doing 49, 50 one month, and then you're at 44 some months, you're probably having some cash flow issues. You got to really look at your expenses here. You got to take a strong look at your overhead, your phone bill, your utilities, your rent. The bigger hammers here is rent, okay? And surprisingly, one of the ones that I actually love the most, and I know you know this, but there are a lot of shops investing a lot more money than they spend in rent in technology, okay? Like RIP software, graphic design software, POS software, Zapier, field management software, company cam, things like this that are just adding up. You got to look at all of that as some of your bigger heavy hitters here. If you have,
that was going to be my question. Is like, if we back up, like, what you've mentioned these things, but like, what goes under operating expenses?
Yeah, so that's going to be your typical, people can call them overhead expenses, people call them operating expenses, people call them business expenses. Your everyday run-of-the-mill expenses that you're going to have in your business. So rent, cam charges, perhaps you're paying taxes on the building that you own. Or
everything that goes into keeping the light on, whether you make the first sign or not.
Yep, credit card fee, merchant fees, let's see. Let me think of a couple. Your phone bill, your electric bill, all of your utilities. If you have a printer lease payment or insurance that you're paying, car insurance, gas, you're going to look at all of these expenses and classify them as an operating expense. Now, we talked a little bit about this, okay? Just a little bit. But you're going to also, a problem that I also see here is that for the support labor items, okay?
You're clairvoyant. That was my next question, is like, does labor go in here or not?
Correct. There's a lot of people that mess up their P&L statement. When they look at their P&L statement, they're putting labor and operating expenses, your designer's salary, and things like that. And the reality is that you should not. Okay. If we're not classifying direct labor, then the next there's only two other types of labor categories that should be listed on your P&L. Support labor is the first. That's going to be everyone else that's not related to the project or a signed sale. Maybe if you have a bookkeeper or a controller or a CSR, your sales staff. Okay, maybe you have an inbound salesperson. Maybe you have like
operations manager,
like a foreman or an operations manager, or I was going to say like a general manager here. I'm trying to think of some others just in case that somebody has somebody here. Field supervisor would be another. If you have any of these types of people that their job is to make sure that the job gets done, but they're not necessarily swinging a hammer. They're just more upper management, or maybe even in a sense of running your business or just running a department. That's going to be support labor. Bookkeepers, if you have we've had some people on this podcast that had trainers on their full-time staff, right? So these are all support labor line items. Yep. And then the second one, or in this case the third one, because you have direct labor as well, would be owner's salaries. Where is your salary in this? And is that going to go under support labor? I don't recommend it, because some days you're paying yourself, some days you're not, some days you're taking a bonus, a significant bonus, some months you're not. So you should absolutely be breaking yourself down out of that labor as well. So owner salaries, maybe that you have partners, so you got to really kind of break down, like, this is my salary, this is this owner salary, etc. So definitely break that down to direct labor, support labor, and then owner salaries. So now the first, I think where you were going with that is, should any of this be considered an operating expense? And some shops can put that support labor in that category. Okay. Personally, I'm not all for that. I'm always breaking down labor separately. Okay, I'm looking at operating expenses as things that you need to make that business run, whether you're operating or not. You have these expenses every month, no matter what. So like I said, those should not exceed 48% of net sales. Now, getting to the last one here, sign shop commandment number 5. Okay. I think we could talk. I think I left it number 5 for a reason, because I feel like almost every single person I talk to about this has no clue what their percentage is. Okay. It is the one that we talk about a lot in our coaching sessions. It's the one that fluctuates the most. It can be expensive, then it can be zero the next month. Yep. Yeah. So it's the hardest one to keep track of, because I'm not going to lie to you here, Brian, and maybe our audience won't like this, but a large chunk of sign shop owners out there are lazy. Ooh,
or this is a mic drop in there. Bam.
Yeah. Well, right. I'm able to say it because I used to be one. Yep. Okay. And so I can acknowledge the fact that as a sign shop owner, I did not fully understand this 5th sign shop commandment. I knew that I needed it. I knew that we needed to have it. I didn't know how much I needed to spend. I thought it was fluid. I could just guess and take a stab at it. But boy, oh boy, years have gone by. I've learned from some of the best. So sign shop commandment number 5 here. Your advertising budget. Okay, you're also known as your marketing budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Should not exceed 11% of net sales on any given month.
Okay. So advertising. Sign shops advertising? Like marketing? What?
Yeah. Yeah. I have, at this current time, I have 7 sign shop clients. I actually can't take on any more. Not yet, at least. Not until the new year. and I had a feeling we would talk about this coming into this episode, and I won't name them. I won't name who they are, okay? But I will give you the number. Out of those 7, 4 of them do not advertise $1.
Yes.
Okay, 4 of them do not advertise their business.
So
They
let's
know
put
who
a
they are.
percentage to that.
They know
That's
who they are.
57%.
57% of my clients, which is, just in a vacuum, in a silo here. Okay, there's thousands and thousands of sign shop owners out there. But out of my 7, who are very good, I have from 500,000 to 5 million are what my sign shop owners do. My clients do. So I have some heavy hitters, and I have some, guys that are just getting started out here. 4 out of the 7, right? I said 4. 4 out of the 7, yes. Do not spend $1 on advertising. And I will also say that the one person that does 4 million is one of them and doesn't spend a single dollar on advertising. So I'm just going to throw that little carrot out there. Now, I hope I'm in the majority here. I hope I'm in the majority because I believe that in order for your business to succeed, you need to advertise. Okay. Yep. You need to forecast revenue. You need to be able to forecast the amount of opportunities that you're going to have in any given month throughout the year by looking at history, by looking at budgets, by looking at dollars and cents and percentage points. You should be able to forecast how many opportunities your business will get in any given month. But most sign shop owners, Bryant, they don't care. And this is in my personal opinion. And I think you and I have had a lot of offline conversations about this. In my personal opinion, this is where companies like Corebridge and Shopbox, and I know you're going through your POS school right now and kind of going through all of this, but this is where I feel like most of these shops' pieces of technology have dropped the ball. They have completely and utterly forgotten about marketing. They just say when the lead comes in, well, where did the lead come from? How did you get the lead? When the lead comes in, enter it into your workflow. Great. That should be awesome. Where are the leads? Where do they come from? Do they just magically appear? Do they just come into the pipeline?
You just manually put them in there.
I know.
They just fall out of the sky. No, I agree with you.
I know. Shopbox guarantees you X amount of leads when you buy their software, right? And that's how it works. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. So, like, how do you operate a business not knowing, one, who your customer is? I feel like that's a part of this process that we need to also discuss. But how do you not spend $1? Now, I'm gonna say that those 4 shops that aren't spending $1, I'm not singling them out because I really feel like there is a lot of you out there that do not.
There's 100%. There's the majority. Right? Like if you looked at the P&L, let's say 100 sign shops right now, like marketing and advertising would probably be like one of the more minimal expenses on there.
And
like
what do you think? What do you think is the first thing that they cut when cash flow is tight?
The marketing budget, because hey, we don't need it, or the work is coming in, right? But the laws of pipeline dictate like, hey, the stuff that you're bringing in now took time to develop and time to bake and time for somebody to say, oh, hey, I've seen this sign shop 1,000 times. Oh, I actually need this thing now, right? So cutting off the marketing budget, what are you doing? You're chopping your arm off.
Cutting the head off the snake, right? Cutting the head off the snake. But, to your point, when that huge job that you're working on gets done and you get paid, what's next? Where's the next one coming from? It's when I explain marketing, when I explain advertising, there is a lot of, well, I don't need customers. I don't need customers.
We stay busy enough. We've got plenty of work.
Yeah, my
word of mouth. Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. I've been here for 30 years and everybody knows who I am. I don't need to advertise. That's typically the rhetoric. And if you're one of those shops that are lucky enough to say that, great. I'm not really talking to you. What I am talking about is just having a marketing budget, because most of your businesses, if not all of you guys out there, want to grow your business. You want to scale your business. You might be stuck in the mud. You might be doing 2 million and saying, how do I get to 5 million? Or how do I get to 4 million? Or how do I get to 2.5 million? Or you might be a $500,000 a year shop and you have a marketing budget, and you might be saying, well, my marketing was just an expense because I only did $700,000 this year instead of 500,000. You know, where you are in the sign shop lifespan, this conversation is different for everyone. Okay.
Sure.
However, we'll go back to your, my original observation. If you make $100, what I am simply saying is that $11, no more than $11, should not exceed $11, need to go into paying for that $100 that you got. Okay? So if you're spending $5, $6, $1, whatever, it just can't be over 11. 11% of net sales. So let's put an extra zero to that. If you did $1,000, $110 to make that $1,000 is what you can't spend more than. Okay? And that can be really looked at with a magnifying glass. We can look at that in a week. We can look at that in a month. We can look at that in a day and say, what did we spend? And how many leads did we generate?
Yeah, I like the way that you've structured these, and like should not exceed, because like, the things that I've heard over the years and seen is usually like hey, you should be spending this percentage of sales. But I like this format because, I could always spend X percentage of sales to get a new lead, right? Whether that you say that's 4%, 5%, whatever it is. Obviously, like you always want to decrease this number as a percentage of net sales, but you do have to be spending some money to have that percentage.
Which is an interesting segue into. We'll pause here because we have another 5 to go, and we're gonna save that for part 2 of this podcast. But before we go, I have I know you like to go into the mailbag, but I actually have a mailbag question that came in just the other day, and I thought, relative to stopping on sign shop commandment number 5 around the marketing and advertising expense, that this was a really great mailbag question to start with. Okay, so I have a question here. Okay, hold on one second. Let me pull it up.
All right. Well, this is a good way to cap this one off.
So I have a question here from Jason in Idaho. I have a sign shop client in Idaho. So this is actually really good. And this is not my client, by the way. My client is not named Jason. And he says, what are some marketing vendors out there that are working for the sign shop industry? And as a part 2 to this question, he writes, will they work in Idaho? Okay. I don't know much
in Idaho.
Yeah. So this is an interesting. I have a couple of answers to this.
Is that? Can we do the second part first? Is that like will they physically work in Idaho, or like does their technology or their platform or whatever work in Idaho? I'm sorry, Jason. Sorry.
So, Jason, I feel your pain. I am going to answer part 2 of your question first. I have a little bit of a horse in this race. Okay. So I have a sign shop client in Idaho. Okay. Not in a major city of Idaho either. Like Boise or Meridian or anything like that. Like, no. So if you are in Boise or Meridian, I think that this answer is different. Idaho is a very interesting state in the U.S. This is how interesting it actually is. I have come to learn that Amazon only makes like once a week deliveries to certain parts of Idaho. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That deliveries are actually really hard to get in Idaho. That even companies like Grimco, they like, no, we're going to ship it to you. We're not making that drive. We don't make that drive at all. We don't send a truck out this way. So I've actually heard from my client in Idaho that like, yeah, it's challenging. We have to order like once for 2 weeks out just to have enough inventory and
Jeez.
materials, and to get that here in time, we actually have to order in bulk. So I feel your pain being in Idaho. Not necessarily encouraging you to move to another state, but I do understand why you're asking the question of will it work in Idaho. All right, so part one to that question is, what are some marketing vendors that I could use, and what has anybody basically had success with? Bryant, now I know you and I are keen in this area. I actually have a couple of new sign shop vendors in the marketing world that they have not I will mention them, but they have not paid to be on this podcast. They have not sponsored this episode or any way or not. It's just I think we've had a lot of success with a couple of these marketing companies here. So I'm going to mention them, and if you're watching
Please
this
do.
podcast on like YouTube or anywhere, we'll probably put the links for these vendors here in the description below. So, Jason, I feel your pain, but maybe some of these sign shop marketing vendors can help you. We'll start with one that I am so in love with. Okay, the name of the company is called ridethewave.info.
Ridethewave.info.
Correct. Yes. So some of you may not realize this, but I'm a huge X user, Twitter user. I'm on it actively, and I came across an individual named Brian, and he is in his 30s and started this company called Ride the Wave. And I was like, all right, let me check this out. And to tell you the truth, I didn't believe that it would work at first. I've had a number of meetings with him. I've referred him to a couple of my clients who've had some successes here. Ride the Wave I think they've cracked the code on communal networking.
Okay. What does that mean?
So we're all in the sign shop industry, right? And to be a sign shop owner in the industry, you have to. Let me go back. You have to advertise your business. You have to network your business. There is no world where you're trying to grow your business and scale your business, and you don't have it figured out in terms of, like I'm going to advertise here. Okay. But I've also mentioned that sign shop owners are lazy.
Okay.
I used to be lazy. One of the biggest fears that I had was that I had to like stand up and talk in front of people, like at a networking event or a chamber of commerce or a BNI group. But these are the ways that most people are aware of how they can be involved in their community. Sponsorships and doing trade events and community events and being like a mayor of the community.
One of the best ways to grow.
Yeah.
I've heard that time and time again.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's one of the best ways to grow your business. So there's another tip. If you're not doing that, you should definitely be doing these things.
What if that's not you, though? Right? What if you're?
But what if that's not you? Like me. And I tell my clients this. So audience, I'm going to tell you this about me as well. COVID has made me an introvert. I used to be an extrovert, like one of the best, one of the biggest ones. I would be the one, the party starter, the crowd pleaser, the guy that's gonna. This is what I do, and I'm shouting it from the rooftops. COVID and staying home and away from everybody has completely changed my personality, my mindset on this, and I'm now as nervous as the next guy to get up in front of people and talk in front of a room of 5 people, let alone 50. Okay, so when I go to but I still go to 2 BNI meetings a week, one on Tuesday morning, one on Thursday night. Okay, and I'm networking my businesses. If you're not doing that, I strongly advise you to do it. But for those that are introverts like me, and you're fearful, and you feel like you got to spend the money, but you can't commit because you're always listening to your inner voice, and your inner voice is saying like this is not working, or I'm scared. Let's just not do it. It's easier to just say no. Well, this guy Brian over at Ride the Wave has been able to figure out a way to I think he cracked the code on communal networking. And he's using Facebook, in particularly Facebook groups,
Okay.
to network your business, but in a different way, in a way that I was so proud to see. Okay, so let me give you like the high level of this vendor, and I know there's a second one coming. This guy has been able to say, give me access to your social account. I get it. You might be like, absolutely not, right from the get-go. But hear me out. If your business is struggling and you're not a big user on social media anyway and you got nothing to hide, give this guy access to your social media account. What he will do is he will join 7 groups a day that allow business postings. Not every Facebook group will allow you to advertise your business. But when you think about the hundreds of thousands of groups that are in your community, car groups, school groups, craft groups, moms groups, PTA groups. I'm into a PTA group now. I can't listen to these sachem moms anymore. Okay? It's like when something bad happens in the community, everybody knows within seconds. Okay? You got hobby groups, you got business groups, you got consultant groups, you got everything. You got sign shop groups out there. Okay? Yeah. They're going to join groups that are in your community for you. And then they're going to post about you in these groups. Now, I said that very specifically. They do not advertise your business. They advertise you, which I think is the best way to do it. They humanize the element of, okay, my name is Peter. I've been living in the community for 20 years. I'm a graphic designer. I'm married. My wife is involved in the business. My kids are involved in the business. We've been doing this for 10 years. We're trying to grow our business, and we really want to get involved in the community, and we feel like this is the best way to do it. If you or anybody know of any signage needs, please contact me directly. Here's my cell. Here's my email, whatever. And then they take that, and they post pictures of, like, you and your family working in the business. Here's my son designing the project. Here's my wife talking to a customer. And then there's like just a family photo. And it humanizes you. It's a way for people to say, yeah, I want to support that guy. I want to support that business. And I was actually quite surprised with the results. I was pleased to see it. A little bit of a different angle, a little bit different. You're not doing pay-per-click ads. We're not doing like social media ads or anything like that. This is just like getting into the community. People know you. People see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said farming. Love that. Love the word farming. Do some farming in your advertising budget, people. That's a little tip. All right. So ride the wave. That's what they do.
Okay.
And I believe that they will work in Idaho. Okay. I don't know. You'd have to call them. I wouldn't know. But I would think that if you're in Boise or in a popular city, or if you have a community that's pretty large, it would work for you. If you don't have a community that's pretty large, I actually think that that's an advantage, because you become the sign shop owner of the community. Like the baker, the sign shop owner, the postman. So just because you're not in a major city doesn't mean that you can't develop that persona for your business.
Yeah, we've seen that time and time again on the podcast. Like, it doesn't have to be a major city to be successful.
And the second vendor that I have used, and Brian, I'm not sure if you've heard of them or not, or used them or not, but Social Sponge.
Social Sponge. Okay.
Yeah.
These are all new to me. Oh, I have seen this one.
You have seen this one. Okay, good. Yeah. Not many people have heard of them. I personally was like surprised by this, because I'm going to tell you the quick story here, Jason, and I hope you're listening. I was in the shower one morning, and yes, that's true. I was in the shower, and I had my phone in the shower, and I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, and some of you might be like, what the hell are you doing on your Instagram feed in the shower? That's none of your business. I was on my Instagram. I told you at the beginning of this, I have 4 kids under 4 now, so this is my only moment of peace. So I happen to have a waterproof phone, and I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, and I get tagged with this ad and says, are you a sign shop owner and you make commercial signs? And I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. I've never seen that. I've never seen somebody talk to me so directly, in such a field. Usually you see this in like other areas like real estate or IT or AI apps and things like that. Or sales. I'm seeing this guy talk to me, just a random fella. I ended up meeting him, super nice guy. And he's like, I'm going to guarantee I'm going to grow your commercial sign shop. And I'm like, whoa, that is quite a message.
Guarantee. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a guarantee behind it. And, there's like, if we don't, I don't exactly know what their motto is, but if we don't, like, let's just say double your profits or increase your profit margins, like, it's like, we'll give you your money back or something like that.
Okay.
Social Sponge has married social ads, particularly those of like Facebook Reels, Instagram Shorts, and TikTok Reels and things like that, and married it with an AI component, a lead qualifier. So you fill out, you click on the ad, you fill out, answer a couple of questions, and then this thing is like running you through, what are you looking for? How much do you do? It's kind of asking you all these industry-specific questions that you and I know how to ask, but like you train an AI bot to ask them, that's pretty freaking miraculous.
Yeah.
And then it qualifies that person as a lead or not. If it's a lead, great, they send it to you. If it's not, they kind of just like send it off into your like landing page for more information. But it's an amazing angle because here is something that you all need to know. Okay? And I know we're a little short on time here, but here's something you all need to know. Your customers are on these platforms. If you don't think that they are, think again. Your customers are shopping the same way you are. Okay? Let me say that again. If you're like me and in the shower scrolling through your Instagram feed, so is your customer. And it's that simple. So if you're not doing anything in this space, shame on you. So, sign shop commandments. Let's just do a quick recap and then we'll call it.
Yep.
Gross profit margin should equal or exceed 60% of net sales. Gross profit margin should equal or exceed 60% of net sales. Direct labor, your designers, your fabricators, your production guys, should not exceed 20% of net sales. Materials, parts, cost of goods items should not exceed 17% of net sales. Your overhead expenses, your operating expenses, your business expenses should not exceed 48% of net sales. And finally, number 5 of our 10 sign shop commandments, start advertising.
Start advertising.
Your advertising
I love
expense
Yes.
should not exceed 11%. 11%, people. That's not a big advertising budget. That's not a big marketing budget. Get on it.
But should not be zero either.
It should not be zero.
Love it, man. Love it. All right. So we'll be back with part 2. Make sure you stay tuned for that episode. We are so back, baby.
We're back. We're back and better than ever.
If you liked this episode, make sure you hit subscribe to get all the latest episodes and check out our website, bettersignshop.com. Get free resources and helpful tools on growing your shop. Thanks for listening.